Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to solve Leetcode problem number 929, which is going to be unique email addresses. So basically this is an easy problem, but it has a small trick, so let's understand it. So here it is given an array of strings in which we have so many email addresses, and we need to find unique email address. So first of all, we need to understand how the valid email looks like. So we have this a valid email, and we know that we have a separator, which is going to be our at the rate sign, which is act as a separator. So it's going to be a separator, and it separates the local name, which is going to be this Alice in this case. So this is going to be our local name, and this is going to be our domain name, right? So the left hand side, whatever is written at the left hand side of the separator is called a local name, or in the right hand side is called a domain name, right? So now there are two special cases that is mentioned in this question, and now let's have a look on it. So we have this which is going to be adding period or dot. So if it is added a dot in our local name, or if it is not added a dot in our local name, both are going to be same. Both are considered a same email address, right? So if there is a dot in the local name, we're going to ignore it. Both are going to be same, right? And the second case is that if there is a plus sign in our local name, so whatever the text going to be written after this plus sign, we're going to ignore it. Okay, so if there is a plus sign, everything after plus sign is going to be ignored, right? It's going to be something like this. Okay, so I'm going to repeat it again, that we have two special rules. The first is going to be if there is a dot in the local name, we're going to ignore it. The second is that if there is a plus sign, everything after plus sign is going to be ignored. And also we have to be remember that these rules apply only to the local name, not the domain name. Domain name is going to be the same, right? We can't do any modification on this domain name. Whatever the modification we're going to do, we're going to do on this local name, right? So this domain name is going to be constant throughout this question. Okay, so now let's move to the intuition. Okay, so we have this valid email address, and we know that we need to replace this dot sign, and also whatever the text written after this plus sign, we need to remove this. Okay, or ignore that. Okay, so how can we do this? So first of all, what I'm going to do is that we know that we have a local name or we have a domain name, right? And we can't do anything on this domain name, right? So it's gonna be the constant throughout. So what I'm going to do, we know that this is a string, right? So we know that we have a function called a split. So I'm going to apply a split function, which basically convert this string into a list. Okay, and I'm going to split it on the basis of this at the rate sign. So we get basically two list item, which is going to be our first item is going to be our local name, and the second item is going to be our this domain name, right? So now let's do this. So if I'm going to apply split function, so basically we get a list. Okay, we get a list, something like this, in which I'm going to split this on the basis of at the rate sign, right? So I'm going to get two list item. The first is going to be like this: Alice dot e plus tally, right? And then the second item is gonna be our domain name, which is going to be this leetcode.com, which is going to be leetcode.com. It's gonna be, constant throughout the throughout this question. So I'm gonna make it at the center like this. Yeah. So if I'm going to apply a split function, so basically it's going to split our local name or our domain name. Now we know that we can't do any modification on this domain name, so we're gonna have to move further with this local name. We're not going to consider this domain name, right? So let's move ahead with this local name. And now what we have to do is to just remove this dot sign, right? This is going to be our first task, is right. So how can we remove this dot from this local name? So basically we have a replace function, right? We have a replace function through which we can get this. So I'm going to replace it, like replace this dot. I'm going to replace this dot. Basically we have this dot into an empty string, right? So this is how we're going to replace a dot. So after performing this operation, we basically get something like this. We're gonna get something like this. Means our dot is going to be replaced from this string. So it could be look like this: Alice plus ALI. Right now the second task is to ignore this text, right? This ally text in this case. Why? Because it is written after plus sign, and we know that if it is written after plus sign, so we're gonna have to ignore that. So now what we are going to do, I'm going to split this again. I'm going to split this again on the basis of this plus sign, right? So I'm going to split it. So we know that if I'm going to split it, so this string is going to be converted into again list. Okay, so it's going to be inside this. Okay, in list, right? And I'm splitting this on the basis of this plus sign. So basically we get again two items, which is going to be looks like this: Alice, Alice, and our second item is going to be Annie, like this. All right. So we know that we didn't want this second item, which is going to be this Ally, right? So I'm going to take this first item, which is going to be Alice. And this is how we're going to remove the dot, or also that the string which is going to be written after plus sign. So this is how we do it. And then what we have to do at the end, we know that this @ or lead.com, this is going to be the domain name, right? So this is going to be the constant throughout this process. So we're going to add them at the end. So I'm going to add this @ and we're gonna add that domain name, which is gonna be leetcode.com, right? So this is what we are going to do, or this operation we're going to perform in each and every email addresses, and then we're going to store it somewhere, and then we're going to check whether these email addresses are unique or not. Okay, so this is what the process that we are going to be follow in this question. So now let's move to the coding part. Okay, so basically we want a unique email address. So for that I'm going to take a set, right? Because set contains unique items, so that is why I'm going to take a set. So I'm going to name them unique emails. Okay, so unique emails, which is going to be our, not emails, which is going to be our set, right? So I'm going to store all the items inside the set, because set having a property which automatically stores the unique element, so that is why. And now I'm going to iterate this emails. So for I in emails. uh, what we are going to do, we're going to split this on the basis of @ so that we're going to get a local name or a domain name separately. So I'm going to store it in a local or domain variable. Local, okay, we need to give a comma, or domain, right? Local or domain. And then we need to split this, which is going to be our I dot split on the basis, okay, split on the basis of @ sign, right? And this is how we do the separation of local name or domain name. And now we know that we're gonna have to move further with local name, right? And then we need to remove the plus sign. Okay, so to removing the text which is written after plus sign, okay, so for that I'm going to write like local equals to local dot split. We know that we need to split this, okay, on the basis of plus sign, on the basis of plus sign, right? And we want a first item from it, so that is why I'm going to write 0th index, because we want a first item on it, and that's going to be the local name, right? We didn't want that that text which is going to be written after plus sign. We didn't want that. Okay, so for that we're going to write a 0, so that we're going to get the first item, right? And then we know that we'll also have to replace that dot, right? So from local side, so I'm going to write local equals to local dot replace that dot sign. Okay, I'm going to replace it with an empty string. Okay, all right. And then at the end, what we have to do, we're going to have to sum up this, we're going to have to add up this all. So our processed email going to be look like unique email. We're gonna have to add these, right, in our set. So I'm gonna write unique email dot add. I'm gonna add it like our local, which is gonna be already processed. And then we're gonna have to also add this @sign. Okay, this @sign. And yeah, our domain name, which is gonna be remain constant throughout. So I'm gonna write domain, right? So this is how we're gonna add each and every email addresses. And now at the end, we're gonna have to return the length of unique email, right? So because we want a number of unique email addresses, so for that we're gonna write a length of unique email addresses. So return length of unique email, right? So now let's run this. Accepted. And now let's submit this. So also the time complexity of this algorithm is going to be big O of n, and also the space complexity is also, because we are using set, right? So it's going to be big O of n. So all right, it's done, and that's it.